Next, let's go to Nidhish. Nidhish, you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Yes, I can see you. Go ahead.
Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
It's sharing. Yes, we can see it now. You want to go to the first slide and then yeah. Yeah, it's good.
All right, so my research paper is about the impact of complete isolation on a person. And by the way, my name is Nidhish. I'm from Elkins High School in Sugar Land, Texas. And yeah, this is my research paper. What happens to a person's behaviors and attitudes in response to the removal of external stimuli? So this was kind of my research question that I built my thing upon because the problem I want to address basically is how certain individuals develop behaviors and attitudes that are detrimental to society. So for example, like growing up, we know like in history in school we learn a lot about like dictators and stuff like that. So the problem I want to address was like how they came to experience those behaviors and attitudes that led them to behave that way. So that's the thing that I was kind of interested about. But the main goal of my research paper is to fill this research gap by analyzing the effects of the complete isolation of individuals and explaining the various psychological responses it elicits. So basically what this means is like so the impact of complete isolation on a person. So like it tends to have a different effect on different people. So as you'll see in my literature review, I compiled a list of like studies and stuff like that to find out like if there's a correlation between different types of people or if it's just like different for all of them. So for my literature review, I used a combination of articles from local, national, international sources. So these are just two examples of the articles that I used. I mean, I used more, but so the first one is the physical impacts of incarceration and solitary confinement. So that's from the National Library of Medicine. So what this article goes to explain is like the physical, not the psychological health impacts. So some of these physical impacts include like they don't want to have social interaction and like other stuff, like typically when you're interacting with people. And the second research article I used in my examples was solitary confinement causes long-lasting harm, which was from the prison policy initiative. So what this study was about how solitary confinement causes long-lasting harm, like in prisons especially. And like as you know, prisoners are experienced with solitary confinement over long periods of time. So what this study did is it conducted a study on prisoners, and it's as you can see in my methodology and results, you can see how there's a correlation between different types of people. So the overview of my research paper. So the goal of my research paper was to determine the effects of complete isolation by analyzing the psychological and neurological impacts. And more specifically, it aims to explore the different psychological responses in response to this, like between the different people, and also investigate the underlying causes of these responses. And some examples of these are sensory deprivation in the absence of social interaction. And these can lead to like problems that I'll further discuss in my research paper, and also to examine the role of individual differences in shaping these responses. And additionally, this study seeks to discuss possible solutions to minimize this. So as you know, this is a problem that's not like discussed, the impact of the lack of external stimuli. So my research paper is going to go ahead and find solutions for these problems to people who've been exposed to this. And as for my proponents, this study adopts a mixed methods approach, integrating both quantitative and qualitative research methods to comprehensively investigate the research problem. So what that means is like, as you can see in my conclusion, the qualitative methods, the quantitative methods are using like numbers and stuff like that. So you can actually have an accurate measurement of like correlations and stuff like that. And qualitative is to, yeah, so you can see that in my conclusion. So the quantitative methods will be used, like I said, used to analyze numerical data, and the qualitative methods will be employed to explore subjective experiences and like individual differences related to this problem. And for my conclusion, as you can see, I used both methods in my study. So these are just examples from the research articles that I used, even though I have more examples of these. So even though people in solitary only 6 to 8% of the total prison population, they account for approximately half of those who die by suicide. So this is like, it relates to the physical impacts of the patients, I mean, and psychological as well, because as you can see, the people who are exposed to this problem, they are like more than half of the people who are to die by suicide. And then for the qualitative method, my article contextualizes the findings within the broader framework for racial disparities in the criminal justice system. So what this study is trying to find, which is from the prison study, is that Black and Hispanic individuals are the people that are often more represented in solitary confinement units. So then it correlates the amount of like suicides and stuff like that with these groups because they have been most exposed to solitary confinement. So this was the correlation that I was talking about, or one of them at least. So yeah. And for my research experience with gifted Gabber, so one transformation that occurred was that Professor Virgil especially was very helpful in walking me through the steps to write my research article, which led to me having a better understanding and being able to write a better paper. So at first I wasn't able to understand like the research paper, but after I scheduled a one-on-one session with Professor Virgil, he like walked me through all the steps to write my research paper, which was extremely helpful. And the second transformation was that both of the professors, they helped me provide like information that had depth and meaning, I mean, which helped me provide depth and meaning in my paper. So I would have a better understanding of the processes and stuff like that I could talk about. And it also helped me to convey my passion for this subject through my writing as I was able to like talk about what I knew. And yeah, thank you.
Great job there. You want to turn off your presentation so Dr. Varkey can ask you a question?
Yeah, Sunish, like this is a very unique presentation. And like I'm impressed that you took a very difficult topic, in fact. And I would have never thought that you will be picking something like such a unique topic that you have picked. Just like question, so Nidhish, do you have you looked also into how social isolation such as this it affects or it reshapes the brain?
Yeah, I've actually learned about that in my psychology class. So I think there's like different responses like fear and stuff like that, that different psychological responses that I have, I think.
Okay, so I mean yeah, you can so in your probably like when you're writing your article, you can also put something like how prefrontal cortex and all like how it is affected. And so basically, different brain circuits are also affected when an individual undergoes isolation. So you can put that as a mechanistic aspect of the effect of isolation, social isolation. So, and then the reason why that would elevate your work is because that will also give scientists or researchers or doctors with a tool how to treat somebody who has undergone social isolation. Like how some circuits within the prefrontal cortex can be activated. So good job.
Thank you.
Excellent. A big round of applause to Nidhish. And two questions for Nidhish. Okay, Nidhish, I'm just hoping that you incorporate whatever suggestion Dr. Varkey mentioned in your research paper, which we will be working towards submitting. Okay.